America's fisheries are the most closely monitored and successfully managed in the world, a fact recently confirmed by the Ocean Prosperity Roadmap, an international study produced jointly by several major organizations and universities, including The Economist and the Environmental Defense Fund. Our fishing industry's tradition of environmental stewardship begins with the Magnuson-Stevens Act. Passed by Congress in 1976, the Act established a fishery management zone extending 200 nautical miles from U.S. shores and created 8 regional fishery management councils. Today, the Magnuson-Stevens Act continues to serve as the primary legal authority for federal fisheries management along all of our coasts. New England's commercial fishing industry is one of the most historic, iconic, and economically vital industries in the United States. The New England Fishery Management Council works with fishermen, scientists, and conservationists to implement fishery management plans that are based on the best available science and aimed at preventing overfishing, increasing the long-term economic and social prosperity of fishing ports, rebuilding stocks, and ensuring a sustainable supply of seafood. New England's commercial scallop fishery is a model for responsible resource management. The success of the scallop fishery is the result of collaboration by fishermen, scientists, and regulators to enact management structures that protect natural resources while supporting an economically crucial industry. This story largely began in 1994 with the New England Council's passage of Amendment 4 to the Sea Scallop Fishery Management Plan, which set out to control scallop fishing efforts in an area known as Georges Bank. Amendment 4 restricted the number of fishing vessels allowed to dredge for scallops, the size of the steel rings used on these dredges, and the amount of time each vessel could fish. Several large swaths of ocean were also set aside as mortality closures, a now obsolete management structure designed to limit commercial fishing effort by restricting access to certain fishing grounds. Closed to fishermen, these mortality closures included the Nantucket Lightship Closed Area, Closed Area 1, and Closed Area 2. Now, let's fast forward from 1994 to 1996, when Congress revised the Magnuson-Stevens Act with the passage of the Sustainable Fisheries Act. As a part of this new law, additional closures were added in Georges Bank. These closures, noted specifically as habitat closures, were designed to protect areas whose seabed was considered by the New England Council to be of particular ecological value. Regulators based these closures on samples of sediment scooped from the ocean's floor, but these samples were limited in their quality by the available technologies of that time. In the 15 years between 1996 and 2011, sampling techniques improved exponentially to include photo and video survey technologies, and a new model for analyzing the vulnerability of habitat emerged from peer review to wide acceptance by scientists and fishery managers alike. This new model, shown here, is called the Swept Area Seabed Impact, or SASE model. The SASE model gives greater insight into which areas of the ocean floor would benefit most from habitat protection. The red squares on this grid represent 10-kilometer areas of seabed where the dominant sediment type has been identified as particularly vulnerable to adverse effects from fishing. Today, the New England Council is using the SASE model to update, improve, and expand habitat-specific protections in Georges Bank, namely through a recently passed measure named the Omnibus Habitat Amendment 2, also called OHA 2. With the SASE model as a guide, the updated closures identified and established by OHA 2 include some of the most productive and ecologically vulnerable areas in Georges Bank, and replace older closures which were based on outdated, less accurate information. But the updated and improved habitat protections envisioned by the New England Council aren't yet a reality. First, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, also called NOAA, must approve and implement OHA 2. Many organizations are fighting to prevent this from happening, despite years of work by the New England Council to develop the SASE model, agreed by experts to be the most detailed and exact representation of New England's valuable seabed habitats. Now, NOAA has a very important decision to make, one that will foretell the fate of New England's historic ecosystems and fishing economies. With the guiding principles of the Magnuson-Stevens Act in mind, and the latest scientific breakthroughs as a map for action, the Omnibus Habitat Amendment 2 can mutually balance the needs of our ecosystems with those of our fishing communities.